I don't even know what this is. Cancel. Hello. I'm trying to answer. Hello. Hi. Just checking to see is anybody here. So I'm Kearn Cherry. I am the visionary author behind Make It Happen, Make It Happen book anthology. And so if you are here, just say hello in the chat so I know I got some people in the audience. Many people that have heard of me. I am Kearn Cherry. I am an author of a #1 best-selling series. I'm also #1 bestseller of Trailblazers Who Lead and Make It Happen. Make It Happen actually went #1 in 6 categories, including an international book anthology as well. And so I'm just here to talk about and answer questions, but to tell you why Make It Happen and what Make It Happen is about. So back in 2019, I always talk about how God brought me to the vision of sharing stories. So I often tell people I'm not really a person who just loves diving in writing. But in that year, I actually created Trailblazers Who Lead, which was my first anthology. And so from that, after Trailblazers Who Lead and having those women share their story, God gave me Make It Happen. Now, Make It Happen has always been a title that I really wanted to use, really wanted to share with people. And so when I first got the title, I was thinking, I've been sitting on Make It Happen for many years, and it was just something I felt like I wanted to do. What is the purpose and the reason why? The meaning behind Make It Happen really for me was I wanted people to share their story who were literally making things happen. They just have they're people that are really they step outside of the box. Sometimes there are times when you feel like you can't get something done and you have to do a little extra in order to make it happen. Yes, sometimes you can, sometimes you run into roadblocks, but the people that are in these stories, sharing their stories in the chapter, and it's almost, I think there's 30 of us in this chapter, in this book anthology. They talk about some of the things that they had to do to overcome in order to make it happen. We have a young man in our anthology, Jonathan Haynes, actually shares his story where he almost committed suicide 3 times. And he's only, as I said, 25. But because he is I always say, because he's a God-fearing man and decided not to take his life, he is now owner of probably 3 or 4 different business. He's been featured on many things. He's actually right now part of a project right now, which they've hired him for. He's actually a singer, a beautiful singer. Most people have heard him on different conferences that I host as well. But until he actually shared his story in my anthology, and I've known Jonathan actually for probably over 10 years, I never knew that he tried to commit suicide. So, so that was one of the things that, for me, that showed me that there was a point in doing this anthology. So when I initially started Make It Happen, and I put it out to the public, Actually, Jonathan was the first person that signed up for the anthology. And then it sat there. And it sat there. I actually produced the whole event before I really just looked at it. And I said, well, Lord, is this what you actually have me doing? You know, did I choose the right title? Make it happen. Like I said before, it's something I've set on for years. And then as far as, but I never planned to use it in a book. It's just, it was just a title that I've always loved. And so when I got up one morning and I said, I was just thinking to myself, is this really the title of the book that I'm supposed to do? And I don't, most people know me, they know I'm not a morning person. So to be up early around 8 or 9 in the morning was really pushing it. And I was sitting there, and of course, God always knows where you're going to be at all times, right? So he sent across the screen, because I was sitting on Facebook, social media, and across the screen came this flyer. And it said, and he shall make it happen. Isaiah 60:22. And I looked and I said, Lord, is that you? So I go to my phone, pick up my handy phone, right? And I'm like, let me Google this, right? So I'm Googling, and sure enough, and when I typed in Isaiah 60:22, it just splayed up all these graphics saying, and he shall make it happen. I always get goosebumps because, when God sends you a signal, he's literally telling you something. And at that point, he was showing me, this is what I called you to do. And this is your next project. And so once I got that message, of course, I got a little more confidence, and I went back out and I shared that graphic again. And as I shared the graphic out again, all of a sudden, people started responding. And so they started signing up, for the project. And many people sharing their stories. And so most people, so in my projects, I do more than just focus on people sharing their stories. One of my biggest things is to ensure that my co-authors that join me in the project are gain visibility. It's not enough just to share your story. Of course, it's important that you share your story. I often tell people that your story is not for you. And you hear speakers say this all the time. Your story, your signature story, that story that you hold is not for you. It is for somebody else. And to be honest, all your other stories are meant to be told as well. If you think about your lifespan, no matter where you at, typically you have about 40 different stories that you could share out. You could either some people focus on writing a book, and sharing, trying to get everything in one book. But most of us only have time to share a chapter or two in any given moment. But from that, you're able to really touch lives. Some people are saving lives with their story. And so I encourage people with my anthology to become more visible. And so being visible is really important to me, because I believe one of the reasons why God has me doing anthologies like Make It Happen is because I believe in creating platforms for others to share their story, to actually share it out to the world. And I say to the world because many people are just trying to share to their backyard. And so many people are missing your message when your only focus is on your backyard. So now, because of what we call COVID, a lot of us have learned to share out into the masses, into the global ocean, because you are meant to touch lives around the world. So, and with my authors, I create platforms for them, such as one of my summits that's going on right now, Power Up Summit. And I was so happy that Ms. Womack asked me to come over and share about my anthology, because I'm always doing something new. But I also actually coordinate putting people on other platforms. The goal is to make sure that they're on podcasts, radio shows, in magazines, just TV shows, whatever, wherever I can get them to share their story. So when they actually are writing that chapter and putting it on paper, yes, you're in a book, and that's great. But they're able to take that one story and put it on different platforms and share it out all over. So in that anthology, like I said, there were over 30 of us, and our forward for the book was Natasha Grano. So Natasha Grano is actually from England, and she actually told her story. She actually came on one of my Clubhouse and shared her story live. And so her story is about the time where she actually was homeless. Now, Natasha right now, if you go to her Instagram page, she has about 4 million people following her. And she literally just got married. She's the first person to get married. Her and her hubby, Michael, got married in Clubhouse last month. But when she shared her story, she talked about the pain and suffering she went through with the abuse from her husband, and how her in order to get away, she took her kid, her one child, and she took whatever she could take in her trash bag, literally a trash bag, and they left. And she was homeless for a while. And so the Instagram, so she has how she figured out this Instagram stuff. She talks about, because she coaches on that too, but she talks about how she, this Instagram status just, I guess kind of fell in her lap. And she just decided to put herself out there. Again, sharing part of her story allowed her to probably go viral, because, in order to get to, and she actually did it I think in the first 6 months, she had over 1 million people following her. And I've only known Natasha since the pandemic. And since the pandemic, she's going from 1 million to 4 million people following her. And so, but that's all driven by her ability to share her story and incorporate it into the things she does. So what I do is, like I said, in those moments of my people writing their story and sharing their powerful stories, I'm able to help them get more visible. That's one of the things I do, and it's one of the things I believe people should always do. Your books are stages. It's a stage for people to share their message. I look at a magazine, that's a stage. A podcast, that's a stage. Speaking at somebody's conference is a stage, whether it's virtual or in person. Blogging and things like that. So I encourage people to get more visible, by sharing their story on many stages. And so so the group has been featured on many things. Um, some of them were featured in the recent Black Enterprise as well. We've been featured in many magazines because of just promoting the book out and getting the word out about Make It Happen. So anyway, I really have enjoyed the process for Make It Happen and creating those opportunities for my people. I kind of live by the title, Make It Happen. If I can't, I've always told people one of my favorite saying is create your own door. Create your own door to the opportunity. So if you go to a door and you knock on that door and that door won't open, try the next one. Try the door next to it. If that doesn't open, then go around back and try that door and see if that door will open for you. Now, if that door doesn't open, I just always tell people, imagine you're looking in the window and you can see everybody is in the room. Everybody's in the room at the table. And maybe even you think they see you and you're peering in, trying to get in. You have tried the front, the side, and the back door, and still nobody is allowing you in the door. And so then you come back to the front. And, I always tell people, sometimes you may have to kick the door in. But if not, create your own door. And so I look at that and I apply it to Make It Happen. When people make things happen, they don't sit and wait for somebody else to open that door. They figure out how to make it happen. They're people that are of perseverance, determined, driven. And so therefore they're always looking for the opportunity to make something happen. There are many times we go to things and it's just a roadblock. It's just a roadblock. So we definitely want to make sure that don't let anything stop you from accomplishing what you need to do. I hope that this book and the powerful stories that are in this book encourages people to make things happen. Now is the time for that. And I want to ask if you can hear me, can you put in the chat that you can hear me? Because I'm not sure. Sometimes when I get on Hopin, I'm not always sure if people can hear what I'm saying. Okay, yes. So there are times as what we're in right now. We call it a pandemic. It's similar to, I'm sure, the Great Depression. I would say the Great Depression probably was actually worse because some of them didn't even have food. So we're in this time where we probably all need to be considering digital. If you don't have a digital product, I'm going to encourage you to make that happen. This is not a time that you see that there's not opportunity. I think people, when you're afraid, you tend to shrink back and see it in a different way, that it's not your time to take this chance. But now is the time to figure out how to create your own opportunity and do whatever it takes to make it happen. That's what this anthology is. These stories in this anthology is motivating people to do. There are people in the anthology that talk about coming through cancer, and actually one of the ones that shared is a nurse. And I learn all the time from my co-authors that are in the book, and she's a colonel and she's gone through a lot of things, but no matter what, she's figured out how to make it happen. She's driven, she's determined, she's growing her business. And so she has figured out a way to make sure that if the door doesn't open, she'll find another door in order to make it happen. So I'm hoping that people take that from this anthology that I've created as the visionary author. I'm always looking to make sure that people sees this as an opportunity and sees this as something that they can use as a tool. I know a lot of times people see an anthology, they're just thinking, oh, it's a book of stories. It's a book of stories that hopefully you can learn from. And then who knows? I always tell my authors, somebody's life is going to be saved as we go international with this book. Somebody around the world needs to hear how you came through and how you did it. Your story may be similar to another co-author, but it's your story. And that story, somebody's waiting to hear that story. And so, I always, if you can go to, in order to get my anthology, makeithappenbook.com, and you can get a copy of that book. I believe it's printed below as well. Yes. And you can get a copy of that book there. There's also the digital download as well. But I want to encourage people to go get the hard copy. And if you buy it, if you buy it from me, of course, I'm going to make sure you get a signed copy as well. Now, again, as I said, God has put on me to create anthologies, not just about me, but also for people who want to share their story. So my next anthology, I might as well tell you, is coming up, and it's part of a #1 best-selling series that happened during the pandemic, and that's Trailblazers Who Lead 2. And so I am looking for co-authors for that book. We have several that are on board now, but I want to make sure that, if you're interested in being a part of that, that is an opportunity. And you can go to my website at coachkearn.com or kearncherry.com and sign up to be a part of Trailblazers Who Lead 2. It is it's a series of women in that book anthology. The first one was led by none other than Gloria Mayfield Banks, a true trailblazer in her own right. She actually, if you don't know Gloria Mayfield Banks, she is the #1. That's #1 in the world, not just the U.S., but the world, for Mary Kay sales. She is their #1 person in the world. And she's been with them a long time, but I think her impact in the #1 on sales had a lot to do with just her determination. Another woman who's come through domestic violence, which you wouldn't know that listening and seeing Gloria, but she talks about her story coming through her first marriage and really surviving that whole thing with her husband. And now she thrives. She's a millionaire now, and she really shares. She's definitely being recruited. I think she was just on, I don't know if it was the Miss America USA pageant as a judge, but really thriving. But she was a part of our first Trailblazers Who Lead, and leading that group of 29 of us were a part of that anthology. So those, again, are people who are just doing amazing things, period. And so in that anthology, and the reason why I wanted to do a series on this is because in that first anthology, I started learning about all the projects of people that I knew, like personally knew, but didn't know about their projects. And so I often talk about one of my friends, Heather, that's a part of that project, she has comeback coolers. And that story about the comeback coolers, how it came about, is that we got hit here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast by Hurricane Katrina. And so getting hit, people don't realize that. They think about New Orleans, and the direct hit was actually Biloxi, Gulfport, Mississippi. We literally, some of our cities were almost completely wiped out. That being said, she came up with this idea when another town not too far from us got hit the next year. She wanted to take them beer. She said, the one thing that I realized after getting hit by a storm is that you don't get anything cold to drink. And, and a lot of people are like, well, it would be so nice to have a cold beer. So she actually created a cooler, one cooler, took it over to Louisiana, and took it over for the guys that were working. And of course, they were very appreciative. But then from that idea grew into her creating thousands of, she got many donated coolers. And I think the last time her and I talked, she was up to over 1,000 coolers that they would send. They would put a note inside of it saying, just kind of giving them something to just get, try to get them pumped up. Because when you lose your house, when you lose everything, and people, I know people were talking about the pandemic on how bad it's been, but I'm on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And from 2006 to 2010, we were getting hit left and right. I can honestly say I watched clients' homes wash away. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law home just tilted to the side. Of course, that was gone. Roofs and all that stuff. And then you continue with, I think that was 2005, and then 2006, the housing market crashed. 2008, the financial market crashed. And then comes the BP oil spill. And people think, well, it was just an oil spill. Well, yeah, it was not. It was probably the worst year I ever had. Started off as the best year, went out as the worst year I've ever had in business. And I've been in business 25 years. So that being said, when she came up with that idea to take people coolers, people they were like, I want to be a part of what you're doing. So they wanted to do the pay it forward. So a lot of people reached out to her on that. And then I had another friend who told her story. And I had never heard her tell her story before. I just knew her as the person that creates this great jewelry and purses that I like to wear. And a lot of people have seen me on my events with her jewelry. And she shared her story with me. She said, Kearn, I worked for this airline, I'm not going to name the airline, for years, heading into retirement. And one day she said, I had everything. I had the Mercedes. I had the house. I had the black card. There's a difference when you get to that black card level, right? She said, I had a couple of those. I was living good. I had my boyfriend and I was great. And then it all went away. She lost it all. I mean, they just literally took everything. And so she lost it from, losing her job just out of the blue, which can happen with airlines. And so, a lot of times we go into a slight depression and we don't realize that's where we're at. We're in a depression. So she, her family had been trying to encourage her to do something different. And so she started playing around with creating different kind of arts. And I asked her, I said, so have you ever done any art, created your own art before? She said, no. So she started creating the different piece of art. She calls it All Bottled Up. And from there, she started handmade leather purses. Y'all, I can honestly tell you, I have never seen anything like it. She has a gift, and it's amazing. It really is amazing. And then she started making the jewelry behind it, just totally gifted. But this, I didn't know. I thought, if I don't know, the world doesn't know. Share your story. You know, you're leading a market now with this gift, but nobody knows the fact that you just actually, one day, God just showed her gifting. I often talk about Proverbs 18:16. When you walk in your gifts, and I'm paraphrasing now, when you walk in your gifts, God will put you at the seat, at the table of great men, because that is where you can prosper. And so anyway, amazing story she shares in my book anthology, Trailblazers Who Lead One. Those are just two stories. Well, three, because I told you Glory as well. Those are just a couple of stories from that Trailblazers. But these women are amazing at just leading, leading in their gifts and utilizing. Obviously, Glory Mayfield Banks is totally gifted at sales, right? That's her gift. And my friend who has the nonprofit organization, just creating those type of ability and being able to take it to where people on a national level are now saying, I want to extend what you're doing to our area as well. And she's been able to do that with a small group of people, but she's doing it very well. Trailblazers Who Lead Two is my new anthology, and I just wanted to share that with y'all. You can go to KearnCherry.com to be a part of that anthology. But you will also become visible. So a lot of my people are not as visible as they should be. And so I help with that, because I do visibility training as well. Now, as I said before, and as I wrap down, I want to thank LaKesha for inviting me. Are we stuck? Can y'all still hear me? Just making sure. So I want to thank her for inviting me to share about my anthologies and what I do. And I did take a break from my 5-day conference to be here. I just want to tell y'all that. So I actually have a conference going on right now. And one of LaKesha's client, Dr. Sherwood, is speaking right at the same time. Power Up Summit is actually a 5-day summit that's happening right now. It's free to the public. I encourage you also after this event to join us over at the Power Up Summit. It's time, the number 2, powerup.com, time, the number 2, powerup.com. We have some great keynotes. As I said, Dr. Sherwood is kicking off this evening. We have Kim Coles, many of y'all know her as an actress and comedian, joining us for a VIP session. And then Chrisette Michelle, Grammy Award winning artist, will also be joining us this evening in her VIP session. And then we kick it off. We go kind of late. We have Candid Conversations as well. We have another celebrity, Leah Diaz, that will be joining us at 8:30 as well. So So I'm so happy to be over here sharing because I get to talk to some new people. Y'all see behind me the Power Up Summit and my K Connections. So definitely, I want to ask somebody put in, I want to make sure I'm answering questions. I know I am 17. I've thought against technology, my children who demand that I catch up and had to give in, found out I cannot accomplish anything without it, especially in a pandemic. Yes, technology is here to stay, y'all. It's this digital world that we're in, and I know people thinking, "Oh, we're gonna go back, and we're gonna be doing all these live events, and we're gonna get back to attending everything live." And okay, so I create events. That's the one outside of my home care business, because I'm in the healthcare business. I've been in healthcare for 35 years. I have my home care business, PR and home care, that I've been doing for 25 years. But what I always have enjoyed doing is creating events and conferences. And so I have, and this is part of the things that people say, well, I make it happen. Yes, events and summits and conferences, this is where I use my skills. And if I can't get in one way, I will find a way to make it happen. And so I want to tell you now that virtuals are here to stay. There is no other way to go international and to on a large level than to be virtual. So virtuals, conferences and events will actually probably be hybrids now. So when you come into 2022, when we really go back full blown, you will find that many of them will be a hybrid of what it was before. So they may have something smaller in person. I think a lot of us are still a little skeptical about thousands of people being in person. And for those of y'all that don't know me, I'm also the co-founder and creator of Success Women's Conference. And that conference in person averages close to 1,500 people here in little old Biloxi, Mississippi, which is about an hour from New Orleans. And virtually last year, we had over 17,000 people in attendance. I think right now at my Power Up Summit, we probably have over 5,000 plus in attendance for that one. So to be international and have international speakers, you have to be virtual, because who's going to be paying for people to fly in? And many last time we had Success in person, I had over 120 speakers, and most of them were flying in. But of course, my budget was 200,000 plus, and so that, looking at that, there's going to be some things that probably change going into that. So if you're not digital and you have not created a digital product, even the books that we're doing now, you have to, as you notice, most of us do an online campaign to announce our book so that you can get it on a digital platform. You have to have a digital product. And I have many speakers, and some of them are well in their 60s and 70s. And same thing with sharing stories in my anthologies. And so, but they no matter what the age, they're learning. You must have a digital presence now. We can no longer be just a storefront. Personally, I'm pretty sure a lot of storefront things are gonna not exist in the next few years. So I want to encourage you to number one, share your story, right? Writing a book is about sharing your story. Being a part of anthology is about sharing your story. And in case you're wondering, I'm not sure if I should do that. Well, let me just say this. It's biblical that we are required to give testimony. It is in the Bible that you are required as a human being to give your testimony. Your story is a testimony. And so when my people tell their stories of what they've been through, how they overcome, where they're at, they're giving testimony. And you know why? Because the only way God can get his glory is that we give our testimonies. So you're required to share a story. You're required to do that. I think one of the best ways is in books and to share it out. Now, of course, like I said, I take mine to a different level because I believe you should be visible with that story. Being the best kept secret doesn't get anybody anywhere. You know, keeping your story to yourself does not help anybody. Many people that write their story find that it's therapeutic because they can share their story and somebody else will get that message. So I'm going to wrap up. If you got some questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask. I'm going to just ask, looking. I do have a last will and test power since the pandemic. I will not. Do you have any suggestions? Do I have any suggestions as to how I can continue with? I can't see the rest of your question, Lucille, as you can continue with what? Yes, and I do I'm glad you're saying you have a will and testament, because my mom didn't, and so it's been hard because she's not able to speak for herself right now. So that's critical that you do. So for your business to continue, you need to ask your attorney about setting up a succession type thing to where your kids are able to take over. But you probably want to start with, do your kids really want to take over your business? Or do you want to, at a certain point, plan to downsize or sell it? You know, you can sell it, but you need to see if your children really want to do that. The next would probably be see if you want to sell your business. But definitely you'll have to get some legal advice on what's the best way to protect your business so that you don't wind up losing it in that transaction. What are the 3 things to keep in mind for the first conference, whether in person or not? Funny you should say that. I just did a presentation yesterday, and I'm actually presenting every night, including tonight, talking about either creating your own profitable event or being visible. So I believe in events should always be profitable. If it should not be a big party, if you're not making money, you shouldn't be doing it. And so that's just, you know, everybody should not be leaving full, which most of the time I know for my events, they're leaving more than full. But at the end, you're not. You're not. You might be happy, but when everything slows down, if you don't have anything to show for it, then it was just a big party. So I'll talk about 3 things I talked about yesterday. Number 1, know your purpose, know your mission, know your why. So you have to know your why, and from your and literally you need to write that down. Why are you doing the conference, the event, whatever you're doing? You need to write it down and say why. And then number 2, you should know your mission. So with Success Women's Conference, we knew our why and our mission because number 1, women wanted an event. They were tired of attending chamber stuff and all that, and they weren't getting full. You know, they were hungry, as Les Brown said. You got to be hungry. Well, they were hungry, and we were too. And so we made sure that they left full, and they had plenty of things to feed from. And then the next one was let's see. Know your title, I think is what I talked about yesterday. choose your title of your event. Your title of your event should say who's in attendance. It should. Your title of your event can be chosen by who you plan on attending, your target market, what you plan to accomplish, or sometimes people use location, but they got to be able to associate it back to you. It's a branding thing. And so those are the top 3 things that I first talk about. And that's in my first stage of making a plan. I typically coach on 5 different things. And that is one of the 5 different things that I coach on. So yeah, so you're welcome. Do you have any suggestions on how I can continue with my business? What kind of business do you have, Lucille? And so know that everything can transfer virtually. One way or another, you can. And let me just say this. I believe in 7 streams of income. So you have to, you must do something digitally. And if you're, and most of the time as a business owner, and if you got all this experience, you probably can create a coaching type product. I do last will. Oh, hello, last will. First of all, from that standpoint, I would say you could do trainings and classes. You can do yeah, you can coach on that. You can either teach people how to start their own in that, or you can actually do classes and trainings, master classes, so people can learn what they need to have and get a little more deeper. You can start off with maybe free short day, but they go into something they pay for to get all the knowledge so they're prepared for their last will and testament. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff you can do digitally. You can, like I said, and you can charge for it. Don't charge what the local people will pay. Charge what anybody anywhere in the world can pay. Everybody in the world needs a will or testament and a power of attorney. So yes, you can do that on a digital platform. So I'm going to wrap up. Thank you. I have to wrap up because y'all, I have a VIP session with Kim Coles. And so I wanted to pop in here. I didn't want to not show up for my duties today. So anyway, I thank you. My name is Kearn Cherry. They do call me the Butts in the Seat Queen. I do create a lot of events. Power Up Summit is going on right now. So you can either go to powerupsummit.com or you can go to powerup.com. And I'm going right now into the VIP session. So if you choose to get a VIP ticket, which we have several sessions that are VIP, you can actually go and type in July, the number 4TH, and you'll get a 50% discount on that ticket, which will carry you throughout the conference, including our awards gala, where we're recognizing over 130 people from around the world on Sunday. So thank y'all for being here. I do have to hop off because I do have my commitment, but I thank y'all and thank you for the questions. And I don't know how to type in the chat, but I'm Kearn Cherry, KearnCherry.com, or you can go to my conference, powerupsummit.com, and you can find me there. And I'll be glad to talk with you soon. Thank you, LaKesha, for inviting me. I appreciate you. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for being here.